talk with you about the famous Conigal silk paper workshop of Samarkand. Samarkand remained the center of paper production in Central Asia until the middle of 19th century when handmade art was almost lost due to technological advances. Samarkand paper was made of mulberry, henna and rose water and was known for its vibrant colors and aromas. Here at Meros, 8 kilometers from Samarkand in the village of Conigal, artisans revived this ancient tradition of handmade silk paper production and reintroduced Samarkand paper to the world. Hi, my name is Jakub Hudayberdiv. I've been working here for 15 years on paper production. In the 7th, 8th centuries it was made of mulberry bark and paper. They brought a 1-year-old branch of mulberry, put it in water for 2 or 3 days, removed the bark from the straw, and after removing it, cleaned the outside with a knife. The inner roof became silk paper. It is not in vain that it is called silkworm, because it takes silkworms from its leaves and its bark contains silk. It is very hard when it is cooked, and then if it is cooked in these pots for 5 hours, it will be soft, and when it is cooked, it should be cut off after 4 or 5 cooking. It is crushing in a water mill. There are such water mills here. To the water mills, when we turn on the water from that side, the water mill starts and they turn. If you take the wood from under it, they can crush it like a hammer. We can see water coming from this side. When it opens at the right times, it opens less. Now, when it opens more, it starts spinning. When the season starts, it opens when tourists start coming. This is a Siap canal. About 2,000 water mills were built in this canal during the Timurids. Of these, 400 were oil mills and 400 were paper, flour and soap mills. This is where the Silk Road passed. Through the Silk Road, paper, soap and flour were exported to the world by caravans. Many small mills were built here. Then, in the meantime, it stopped for 200 years. How these things were made, what they were made of, after they all disappeared, a man named Zarif Mukhtarov, the founder and owner of this place. He did research for 10-15 years and tried to make it out of different things. Rice stalks, cotton stalks, from the old books, from the book of Babu Noma. It was written at that time. The best, the highest quality paper was found to be the paper made of mulberry bark on the edge of the canopy. Then after figuring out what it was made of, he thought about it, searched for it, asked his various ancestors and finally found it. It was known all over the world that it was here in Central Asia, and when it was spread all over the world, the paper was in Samarkand. The mulberry peel is brought here, and when it is soaked, it is crushed with this wood, beaten like a hammer and beaten like this. After turning the water, we bring the crust here. Then in 8-10 hours, it is crushed. When this is crushed, the dough becomes a crumb. When it's pulled, it begins to separate from each other. This is what happens little by little. See, we can see those silk fibers. When they take it here after 8-10 hours, we take 3-4 kilograms of bark, put it all here and mix it well, and the fibers separate from each other. Then it is separated into such forms of different sizes from the grid through a sieve. Here 1 piece of paper and 1 piece of silk cloth or place it in between, so that they do not stick together and have a good press. This is paper, this is silk. Here it's taken after 50-100 papers. 30-40 kilograms of stones, they take 1-2 and put 3 on it, and after standing for 1 day, they take it and dry it by gluing it to the boards and windows. It dries in 5-6 hours in summer and 1-2 days in winter. Once dry, it can be easily removed. Here is the dried paper. Here you can see the fibers in the sunlight. Then they were polished in Samarkand. Bird feathers were written on bamboo, so paper was needed. So, with the help of an agate stone, a seashell, and the horn of this kettle, one piece of paper was flattened for 10-15 minutes in this way. This is the old way. Then it looks like silk. It becomes thinner and thicker. If you move it like this, you can distinguish the Samarkand paper by its voice. For example, the Chinese, Japanese have handmade papers in the ancient style, but they do not grind, they were not needed. Then they write one-sided. When in Samarkand, it is possible to write two-sided easily, due to grinding. It was then used to write older books, to restore, to keep for a long time. For example, the difference between plain paper and Samarkand paper is as follows. For example, ordinary factory paper has been in the archive for 75-80 years. Samarkand paper was guaranteed for 2,000-3,000 years, and such papers have stood for so many years. Manuscripts have survived to our day because such paper was made from the bark of mulberry tree. The mice did not eat insects, had stiffness and did not digest their stomachs. The silk paper did not rot for a while. Even though it was wet, the notes didn't fade because they were written in a nature color. The inscriptions have reached us indelible. There was no fire, no air, no books. There is why old books have survived in warehouses and on roofs without burning or eating worms. It is possible to create various works of art from such paper. Our grandfather Amir Temur also saw coats from paper. Such paper is designed to filter out toxic air in nature and transmit beneficial air. Now we make clothes and coats from it, which can be washed and worn several times. Here the clothes you can sew, papers in a large format, painted in different natural colors. These bags are all made of this mulberry bark to be taste or different. They can be worn comfortable. Here it is possible to add to the paper of nature colors the leaves of different flowers, adding the scent of basil. You can feel it by smelling it. In various designs, such postcards were made in the Samarkand style. Here, cosmetic bags can be sewn by hand. And Meros is celebrated in this work of art. In the front, people go with karnai, surnai, national instruments, music instruments, and in the back, people go with all kinds of pastries, and then they sit down and celebrate. And they serve puppets, and here all sorts of handmade albums, notebooks, dolls. In this, you can save Samarkand picture. If careful, it will be preserved for 1,000 years. This is papier-mâché. It's made by gluing 10-15 layers of paper. It won't break even if you threw it away. Here we go. These are egg-shaped toys. Here various pictures drawn on it. Camels, eggs made of this paper, which will not break. This is the kind of art that can be easily washed and hung on the walls. In ancient times, a person's house was a piece of paper was considered rich. It was as valuable as bread. It was called by two different names in ancient times, such as sultan paper and silk paper. Sultan paper was bought by rich people. Hence the name Sultan paper. Apparently, such a paper is the only one in the Central Asia in Samarkand. He was here again and restored here again. Samarkand paper is the most popular paper in the world.
Masalan bularni har xil xatlar yozganda mana bunaqa o'sha tutni o'zidan qilib
At that time, then, for example, when they wrote various letters, when they put command letters into such a scroll, they sent letters to the couriers and they went from one state to another in ancient times. Archaeologists say that in the 2nd, 3rd century before China, paper clothes were made in Samarkand. According to research, it is believed that it appeared in Samarkand. So, okay, let's try to put on masks. Now let's looking. Here is Mr. Zarif Mukhtarov's achievements in the world. Here is his work, moments. Here is a wheelbarrow build. For example, to cool the air. This brings the water up from the ditch and this serves to keep the air cool. This wheelbarrow has been around for over 25 years. Once this wood is in the water, it will be as hard as stone. It doesn't rot for a long time if the water is always circulating.